I encountered my subordinate bride in the hallway while I was asked to give a speech at their wedding, a wedding where I was admired. She looked down on me and said, "Why is a poor guy like you with such a low education here? This isn't a place for someone like you." The moment I heard that, I made up my mind. I would ruin this wedding. I would expose the true nature of the bride in my speech. I'm Alex, 26 years old. After graduating from a rural junior high school, I started working at an acquaintance's company. A few years later, I felt a desire to try something new, so I came to New York. I thought about how I could spread the goodness of today and started a new business in Tokyo. The company I founded focuses on improving rural areas. My endeavors have been covered by the media, and now we are a rapidly growing company gaining attention from various industries. After 10 years, my work is on track, and I can even support my parents back in the countryside. Around the time, I met Ted, who is 2 years younger than me. When I found out that Ted was from the same hometown, we hit it up. We quickly became close beyond the boundaries of president and employee. "Huh? Alex, are you also from there?" "I'm too. I never expected to meet my senior from junior high school in a place like this." "Hey, cut it out with the senior things." "But it's true, isn't it, senior? Please take care of me from now on as well." Since then, he started admiring me, calling me senior at every opportunity, and I started to dot on Ted in return. One day, Ted said to me, "I have something important to talk to you about." "What's the matter?" "I want to introduce someone to you, Alex. Her name is Jen, and she's an incredibly stylish girl born and raised in New York." Ted met her at a house party and apparently fell in love with her at first sight. He made a big effort to pursue her. At first, she completely ignored him, but he didn't give up and kept confessing his feeling. Finally, they started dating. Ted continued happily. "I can't believe I can date such a stylish person. It feels like a dream. I'm so glad I didn't give up. I've been wanting to introduce her to you as soon as I got her approval, Alex." For Ted and his girlfriend, I set up a cozy hideaway-like restaurant. As I sat inside the restaurant, Ted came in happily. Behind him, I approached the girl who was looking around nervously. Are you Jen?" "Yes, that's me. Nice to meet you." Jen greeted me curtly. She was indeed beautiful and stylish, but my first impression of her was that she wasn't very friendly. While Ted was in high spirits, Jen had a bored expression on her face. After a while, she asked me without much enthusiasm, "Are you Alex? Why did you choose this restaurant?" "This place isn't well known, but the food and drinks are delicious. It's my favorite spot." "So, this restaurant hasn't been featured in any magazines or on TV, huh?" "Yeah, I haven't seen it being introduced in the media. It doesn't seem like one of those trendy places that went viral on TikTok either." Jen murmured under her breath. "What a disappointment." "Huh?" I couldn't help but ask again, and Jen laughed condescendingly. "Oh, sorry. I unintentionally spoke my mind. I thought you must be an amazing person, since Ted seems to admire you so much. But it turns out you are just a country bumpkin." As her word left me stunned. What do you mean? I inquired. Normally, in situations like this, you'd select a stylish restaurant that has been featured in the magazines or on TV, right? Choosing a place like this, which is plain and hasn't even been mentioned on TikTok, is evidence of being a country bumpkin. While I was still in a daze, Ted hurriedly tried to smooth things over. Hey Jen, what are you saying? Alex made the reservation for us, you know. You just randomly picked a place you knew. Well, I guess this is the limit of a country bumpkin's taste, right? Nevertheless, Ted tried his best to liven up the atmosphere. The dishes here remind me of the local cuisine from our hometowns, you know? Then, even though Alex and I are from the countryside, the food was already delicious. Someday, I want to take you there too. However, Jen continued to make derogatory remarks about us, who hailed from rural areas. Huh? Why should I go to Ted's hometown? I definitely don't want to visit such a rural-smelling place. Unaware of my frustration, Jen continued to mock our hometown freely. Feeling down, I returned home, and soon after, I received a call from Ted. I'm sorry about today. Jen seemed nervous. Nervous? It definitely didn't seem like she's so nervous. There was something I wanted to confirm with Ted. What do you like about her anyway? Jen is stylish, beautiful, and she's my ideal woman. Ted, who was infatuated with Jen, seemed ecstatic about being in a relationship with her and couldn't make a rational judgment. It would be futile to say anything to Ted in this state. Eventually, he will come to his senses. Thinking that one day, Ted approached me with a serious expression, saying he needed to talk. Perhaps he had finally made up his mind to break up with Jen, but what Ted said was unexpected. I decided to marry Jen. Marriage? I involuntarily exclaimed in disbelief. Remember how she said she'd never go to our hometown because it's rural? How are you going to introduce her to your parents? It's okay, I made a promise with Jen that she doesn't have to visit my parents' house. My parents are still healthy and they can come to New York to visit. And if I can marry someone as fashionable as Jen, it doesn't matter if she doesn't come to my hometown. Without ever introducing her to his parents, Ted seemed to be moving forward with the idea of marrying Jen. Jen, on the other hand, seemed to be planning the wedding almost entirely according to her own desires, saying that she'd marry a country pumpkin like Ted. Still, Ted seemed happy. Jen said she wants to have a grand wedding, so my savings are quickly disappearing. Well, I want as many people as possible to see Jen in her wedding dress, so it's fine. I couldn't help but express my concern to him. Hey Ted, are you sure she truly values you? Marriage isn't something to decide based on temporary emotions, you know. Shouldn't it be about finding someone you can trust each other with? Yes, I think so too. I trust her and respect her assertiveness. No matter what I said, it seems to fall on deaf ear to Ted. It's evident that Jen will continue to do as she pleases if things continue like this. When I asked about the details of the wedding, I learned that they plan to have smoke effects, with the bride and groom making their entrance on a gondola. Furthermore, they will change outfit 5 times, and the introduction of the bride background will be done through a slideshow, created by a famous TikToker. The more I hear, the more outrageous it becomes. They must have taken inspiration from the wedding of some famous person. Ted, isn't this going a bit overboard for regular folks in terms of expenses? But this is what Jen wants. It's not just about the wedding, but also about your life together afterward, right? It would be wise to save some money for your life as a couple, don't you think? Finally, it seemed like Ted understood and agreed with my concern. You're right. I see your point. I'll talk to Jen about it. Afterward, Ted called me to meet up. At the stylish cafe where we agreed to meet, Ted and Jen were already waiting at the table. Ted came over with an apologetic look on his face. Jen really insisted on talking to you. To me? At the moment, Jen suddenly got angry at me. Yes, that's right. I have something to discuss with you. Ted has been criticizing my wedding plans, and I know it's because of your influence. I heard it all from Ted. Although Ted tried to explain and intervene. Shut up, you stay quiet, Ted was reprimanded by Jen. You, being a country pumpkin, have no idea about the average cost of a wedding in New York, do you? Besides, this is a matter between Ted and me. He's apparently from the same hometown as you, but it's none of your business to interfere. Feeling annoyed, I couldn't back down and countered her argument. From what I've heard, the entire content of the wedding is based on Jen's wishes, right? Can't you at least consider Ted's opinions a little? Huh? What do I have to bother listening to Ted's opinions? Ted is your future spouse, isn't it? In the wedding, Ted is also the main character, not just Jen. If I were to listen to the opinions of a country bumpkin like you, it would ruin our stylish wedding. You know, I attended one of the top schools in New York where the wealthy elites send their children. Everyone around me spends this much money on weddings, so where did you go to college? I didn't attend university. Seriously, are you just a high school graduate? No, I didn't even go to high school. At that moment, Jen widened her eyes for a second and looked at me with disdain. Could it be that you only have a middle school education? Not only a country pumpkin, but also uneducated. Your life is already over. Finally, Ted intervened and advised Jen. Jen, you can't measure Alex's worth based on his education. Are you stupid? Are you defending this low-class person? Which one of us, me or this guy, is more important to you, Ted? Then he said with a sad expression on his face. It's not about choosing. Both of you are important to me. You can't choose? I won't allow that. Decide right here and now. Seeing Ted in distress, I threw him a lifeline. Forget about me. Even if I'm not your number one, I understand your feeling perfectly. Alex, as Ted looked at me with gratitude, Jen's face turned pale. Fine. Such a beautiful friendship. So, the answer is clear now, right? From now on, you won't interfere in our marriage life, right? Jen urged Ted, and they left the cafe. Asked by Ted to give a speech, I was focused on my speech manuscript at the wedding venue on the day of the ceremony. Hey, why are you here? This isn't a place for low-educated, poor people like you, you know. As I looked up from my manuscript at the voice of a woman, Jen was glaring at me with an intense expression. Ted's friends were all rejected, so I'm sure I turned down every one of them. And yet, you had to sneak in. Now, quickly leave. Cut off all ties with Ted. Without saying a word, I left the scene. Perhaps I shouldn't have come here in the first place. I decided to deliver my congratulatory speech directly to Ted and leave for the day. Thinking so, as I turned on my heels, I heard Jen's voice along with a man's voice. It wasn't Ted's voice. It was another man's voice. Jen, are you really going to be okay? Yes, no one would ever think we're getting married as a cover-up for our affair. Besides, you're already married, so we can't get married anyway. What was that? Eavesdropping. I found out that Jen is having an affair with this married man. Jen continued without remorse. When it seemed like our relationship might be exposed, I panicked, but marrying someone as plain as Ted will make those rumors disappear quickly. After all, Ted is infatuated with me, so he won't notice our relationship even after we're married. Are you sure it won't be discovered? Even if it is discovered, I will find a way to talk my way out of it. If I said this is how things are in New York, maybe they'll tolerate even infidelity, don't you think? As I expected, my intuition was correct. I can't let a terrible woman like Jen marry Ted. I distanced myself from the Jen's line of sight and secretly attended the wedding. Holding my breath, I waited for my turn. When it was my turn to give a speech, Jen visibly scowled. Ignoring Jen's attitude, I began my speech. Ted and I are actually from the same hometown. It's not easy to find someone as genuine as him. As Ted listened to my speech, he seemed bashful. Ted chose me among all others. I'm completely different from him, but I've learned a lot from someone like me, a countryside pumpkin. Suddenly prized, she seemed slightly pleased with herself. Ignoring her expression, I continued. I was surprised by the dating perspectives of people in New York like Jen, who date while being married and then marry someone else. My words caused a stir in the venue. Suddenly, Jen hurriedly interjected. What were you saying? Shut up! Besides, I already sent you away. Huh? Sent him away? Ted's murmur puzzled the guests at the venue as well. Yes, that's right. People like Jen, who have been influenced by New York, seem to dislike people like me, a country pumpkin. Someone like me, a high school dropout from the countryside, was told to cut ties with Ted. Ted looked at Jen in surprise. Jen, why you just say such a thing? I spoke gently to Ted. Ted, it's okay. Just as she said, I'm thinking of cutting ties with you. Thinking that things were finally going as planned, Jen looked pleased, unaware of Ted's pale complexion beside her. Finally, you understood my words. Country pumpkins like you have slow comprehension skill. It's quite troublesome. Ted, in a cold tone, said, It's you who doesn't understand. I am caught up by the president. We won't be able to make a living. Is that okay? Huh? The president? Ted continued, surprising Jen. Alex is the president of our company. Ted's gaze towards Jen was no longer filled with the same passion as before. I can't force you to like someone I respect, but you have no right to break the relationship between me and Alex. But why? Why should I marry a country pumpkin like you? True, I was infatuated with the competent Jen, but a woman who cheats on her spouse, I can't respect someone like that. That's a misunderstanding. Just as Jen began to make excuses, a woman appeared before her, holding a glass of water. She mercilessly poured it over Jen. Excuses won't work. I know about your affair with my husband. It seems Jen invited the other woman to the wedding to dispel the suspicions of infidelity, but it backfired. An enraged wife and her husband trying to calm her down. The venue transformed into chaos. As I quietly slipped out of venue, Ted chased after me. Alex, Ted, I'm sorry, I messed up your wedding. Ted vigorously shook his head. No, it's actually me. Even though you warned me multiple times, I didn't listen at all. If it weren't for you, I would be living in a loveless marriage by now. If I had realized it earlier, I wouldn't have lost my job at the company. Lost your job? What are you talking about? Curious, I asked Ted. Huh? Didn't you say you were cutting ties with me? Oh, that's a lie. I thought it was the best thing to say in the situation. I'm sorry. So, can I still be by your side, Alex? Of course you can. Honest people like you are necessary for our company. That's why I didn't want you to be influenced by someone with a biased mindset like Jen. As I said that, Ted smiled happily. Thank you. I look forward to working with you from now on, Alex. Afterward, Ted broke up the engagement with Jen. The guests who attended the wedding came to know that Jen had staged the wedding as a cover-up for her infidelity, and one by one, they cut ties with her. Jen, who had intended to resign from the company, quit in a hurry and started looking for a new job. However, her disgraceful behavior at the wedding and her derogatory remarks about the countryside reached the ears of executives, and it seems she was blacklisted by every company. Jen accumulated debt and fled to the countryside, practically eloping. With no money to buy new clothes, Jen looked worn out and lost her glamour. Even the local people seemed to scorn her as a pathetic individual. On the other hand, thanks to Ted's contributions, my company is expanding its business rapidly. Ted is doing well, and it seems he's getting along with the woman he met at a business partner's place. She's also from New York, but she shows genuine interest in Ted's countryside, and is a wonderful woman who doesn't front her upbringing. Seeing Ted so happy, I start to feel like it's time for me to find a partner as well. But I must be careful not to fall for someone like Jen.